About the nature of knowledge. Knowledge according to scholars is the words and their meanings. According to Arif, the knowledge is to know the asma and the objects shown by the asma, name. Here begins the basics and the basics. The knowledge cannot be associated with Adam because it does not exist. Knowledge can only be associated with what exists. What does not exist cannot be associated with knowledge because what does not exist is unthinkable and not included in the mind and cannot be described. The fact is there is none, but merely a denial. Denial simply cannot produce anything, in the mind and the mind. If the result is anything, then it exists. Adam cannot exist at any time because the facts cannot change. If you examine what is whispering in yourself and what your kalbu, heart, perceives by denying the existence of an ally for Allah, then you will find that there is no the other in you except the oneness that exists. This is the meaning of knowledge according to enlightenment experts, knowing something that can be associated with that which exists only where that which exists in their enlightenment has no other analogy other than itself. God has no analogy other than himself, and he resembles himself. He is similar to that and he is similar to himself, because it is analogous to himself. He is just like himself and just like himself. The reinforcer is the support and the support is the reinforcer. It is not him and he is not it. And there is none besides him and there is none besides him. There is no enlightenment other than him. There is no one except him. So the enlightenment expert is a person who sees and enlightenment is in him who remains inside. Enlighteners live with the act of knowing because it is their identification. His identity is his and the enlightenment is behind it. The forms are still further afield. Story is the business of the storyteller and enlightenment is the business of the chosen people. The act of pretending is the act of being alone with the lost dreamers, and contemplating living with the depressed while neglecting being with the confused. God is God, creation is creation. And there is no question. Indeed, there is no change in the words of Allah. Surah Yunus, 64. Types of knowledge and its parts. Know that knowledge is divided into two main parts, namely Sharia science. Science Aqli. The Sharia sciences are Aqliya for those who know it and most of the Aqliya sciences are Sharia for those who know it. The above statement if understood is to show the close relationship between the knowledge of Sharia and the knowledge of Aqliya as will be stated later. The word of God which means, and whoever Allah does not bestow light on him, there is no light for him. Surah Al-Nur, 40. Part 1, Sharia. Sharia knowledge is divided into two types, namely, the thinkers in this science hold on to. First with the verses of the Quran. Then with the hadiths of the Prophet SAW. Then with the arguments of Aqliya and the proofs of Qiyasiyah. They use the materials of the qiyas of debate and onity, qiyas of contradiction, and the arguments of both are taken from the logic, of philosophy and they put the word out of place. They use the terms, jar, arid, dalil, nazar, view, istidlal and hujjah, while each of these terms has different meanings for each group. The members of Tasawwuf mean one another while the members of Ilm-Kalam mean another. And so on. This father's speech does not mean to deny the meaning of each word according to the opinion of each group. So we will not discuss here. Experts who think in the propositions and knowledge of monotheism who take a special part, in presenting and defending their knowledge, with kalam or words are called mutakallimun, scholars of the pen. For this reason, monotheism is also known as Ilm-Kalam. 2. The science of interpretation. The Quran is the greatest and most important thing in religion. In the Quran there is a problem that cannot be solved by the intellect of every person other than the person bestowed by Allah Almighty to understand his book. In this case, Rasulullah said that means. Every verse of the Quran has only the outer and the inner has 7 layers as well. In another narration it is stated to have its 9 natures. Rasulullah said again with the meaning. Every letter from the letters of the Quran has a limit. The meaning is the same as niyah which means limit, and each limit has muthali high place to review. Allah Almighty has narrated in the Quran about all knowledge, all the real and hidden mawjuda, the small and the big, that can be felt and that can be understood by the intellect. This is indicated by his words, which mean, and not, fall, the seeds that are wet and not dry unless they are in the clear book. Surah Al-Nur, verse 59. Allah says again, which means, so that they may pay attention to its verses and so that those who have understanding may remember. Surah Al-Shad, verse 29. If the Quran is the greatest, which commentators can break the bond? Yes. Each of the commentators can only explain the Quran according to energy only, explain it just the strength of his mind and according to the level of the content of his knowledge. With these limited abilities, all the commentators speak when in fact they should say that in the knowledge of the Al-Quran it contains, ilmu yuzal and ilmu furukama ilmu siyari and ilmu akli. Even so, the commentator must look at the Quran in terms of its language, in terms of its parables, in terms of the order of its utterances, in terms of its grammatical levels, in terms of Arab customs, in terms of the opinion of the jurists, in terms of the words of the Tasawwuf. His interpretation of Tahqiq. If the interpretation is only limited to one aspect and only gives evidence through an intelligence only, the evidence is not satisfactory and still provides an opportunity for arguments and reasons from others to oppose it. A science proposal, grasshopper. Biomufuru. A science. Ilmu yuzal, is also divided into three types, namely ilmu tawhid, ilmu tafsir and ilmu akbar, hadith. 1. The science of Tawhid. This science talks about the essence of Allah Almighty, His attributes which are qadimiyya, normal, His attributes which are fi'liyya, in the form of deeds, and His attributes which are zasha, in the form of substances, which are various names according to names as mentioned. It talks about the prophets and priests after them and their companions. Also talk about death and life. Talking about the resurrection, the gathering in the field of Mazir, the counting of deeds and the appearance of Allah Almighty. 3. Newspaper science, hadiths. That the Prophet saw as the most eloquent Arab and Ajam, he is a teacher who was revealed to him from Allah Almighty, his intellect is to cover the whole of the upper and lower worlds, every word, even every speech there is a sea of secrets and treasury riddle. So knowing the newspaper and recognizing its hadith is a big question and a great job. No one has the power to immerse themselves in the knowledge of the Prophet's words except by the way he corrects himself according to the commands of the Prophet and removes the crookedness of his heart with the Islamic guidelines. Anyone who wants to talk about the interpretation of the Quran in Taqul Akbar, hadith, and wants his words to be accurate, that person must first master the knowledge of language, deepen the knowledge of grammar and have knowledge in the field of Arab because of the future factors according to the science of grammar, and clever in various tasriq, the ability to change an original sentence into various forms for the meanings that one wants. This is because language knowledge is a ladder to climb to all knowledge. Anyone who wants to go up to the porch of the house, first he needs to provide a ladder, then just climb. Ilmu bahasa is an important path and a ladder that means a lot. A student of science cannot separate him from the laws of language. Therefore language knowledge is the origin of all origins. The first thing that must be known in language is about materials that are of the same level as the words one by one and then know the action words such as words consisting of 3 letters and 4 letters and so on. A linguist must also know the Arabic poems, and the most important and neat are the ignorant poems, because they sharpen the mind and refine the soul. After the poems, the materials, from the words, and the names must master grammar, as it is for linguistics similar to the dacing scales for gold and silver, mantiq for philosophy, poetry scales or poetry, for poetry. Sleeves for shirts and measurements for grains. Each one is not weighed with a weight that is not clear to it the fact of increase and decrease. Therefore, ilmu bahasa is the path to ilmu tafsir and akbar, hadith. The knowledge of the Quran and the newspapers is a proof for the knowledge of monotheism, while monotheism is the knowledge that only with him can the servants be saved and with it they escape the fear of the day of resurrection. This is the science of motion in detail. Biomufuru branch science. A knowledge can be in the form of natural or practical. Usual knowledge is knowledge in the form of natural knowledge, while thorough science is knowledge in the form of amali. This practical knowledge contains 3 rights. 1. The right of Allah Almighty. This is about the parts of worship such as purification, prayer, zakat, hajj, jihad, zikr, festivals, al-ayad with the first meaning of religious festivals and the second meaning of repetitions, meaning tajli that are repeated over the kalbu by means of repeating the practices of the assembly, jama'ah, and other practices of circumcision and obligatory. 2. Rights of slaves. This is about the parts of adat, society, which are divided into 2 areas. Mu'amala, mixing, such as buying and selling, companies, giving, al-hiba, giving loans and debts, kishes and all parts of debt, fines in the form of money from murder or injury. 2. Ma'akada, agreement, such as marriage, divorce, liberation of slaves, slavery, division of inheritance and all its arguments. The 2 parts mentioned above are called fiqh. The knowledge of fiqh is a noble, beneficial knowledge, about everything, human, and necessary. Man is not spared from it because his need for it is general. 3. Soul rights. The right of the soul is something related to the knowledge of morality. If the morality is reprehensible, it must be removed and discarded. If praiseworthy, it must be worn as a jewel of all souls. The reprehensible morals and praiseworthy qualities are well known in the Book of Allah and the hadiths of the Prophet SAW. Whoever behaves with one of these praiseworthy attributes, he will enter heaven. Science Akli. The knowledge of Akli or knowledge that is problematic and difficult. Knowledge that can happen wrong or true. It is located on 3 floors, namely. First floor. First level, mathematics and logic. From the science of mathematics was born the science of mathematics, which talks about numbers, geometry, the science of measurements and shapes, the science of astronomy, relating to astronomy, stars, regions of the earth and anything related to it. Derived from this astronomical science as its branches astrological science, astrology and laws and horoscopes. From the mathematical science was born the musical sciences that talk about the ratio of strings of musical instruments. There is also the science of logic is to talk about how to determine the limits, al-had, and rism, al-rism, in something that can be achieved with a concept, tasawwur. Also he reviews from the way of qiyas, al-qiyas, and evidence, al-burh, in the sciences achieved by confession, al-tasdiq. Logic knowledge revolves around this method. Starting from a single word. Then the words are stacked. Then the benefits. Then qiyas. Then the parts qiyas. Then the goal of proof, mutholab al-burh. This is the end of logical science. Second floor. This middle level is tabi science. This natural science is a science that talks about the absolute mass. Mass is simply a mass consisting of objects and forms without bonding with any space. Here we are talking about the division of mass, motion, change and what is related to the motion such as time, space and emptiness, and the pillars of nature, talking about the ceiling and the 4 elements that are from the bottom of the astronomical moon, the habits of the elements and so on. Jar and irad, motion, and silence, about the affairs of heaven. Something in the form of action and the effect of action. From this science, a trial was born about Majida floor matters, soul parts, Mizraj and sensory quality and the way he achieves something he can achieve. Then leads to the trial of medical knowledge, that is the knowledge of bodies, diseases, medicine and what is related to it. Among the branches of al-Mutabiyar, science of top effects. Mineral science. Knowledge of nutritional matters and ends with the science of chemical industry, that is the treatment of diseased bodies on the parts and minerals. Third level. This is the highest level that talks about existing and then divides it into compulsory, everything that exists from its own substance and not from another. Such a form is the existence of God, because this is termed obligatory. Existence means obligatory, and mumkin. Everything that exists is not with its own substance, but depends on other substances. If there is no other substance, then it does not. The existence of such a state is the existence of beings. That is why beings are termed mumkin wujud, meaning which may exist. Then talk about his creator and his essence, all his attributes, his deeds, his commands, his laws and qada and the order of birth mujada from him. Then talk about something high, alleluia, jar mufrad, abstract minds, and the perfect soul. Then talks about angels and devils and ends with the science of prophecy, questions of miracles and sacred matters, and then talks about the affairs of the holy souls, matters of sleep and consciousness and the makam mimpi. Among its branches are, till asmat science, the science of making trees or amulets, and zijat, knowledge that talks about the position of phalania, and what to do with it. These sciences have their details, fields and floors that require more space. But enough with this summary. Levels of the soul and gaining knowledge. Know that knowledge is embedded in the whole human soul and all are suitable to receive all knowledge. If a soul escapes from receiving its reward, it is only for a coming reason, befalling it from outside. As the Prophet said. Which means, made human in a state of purity, then they are corrupted by the devils. And his words again, which means, everyone who is born in a natural state. The intelligent soul, al-nafs al-nathika, of man is indeed worthy to receive the scattering of the whole soul, al-nafs al-kulliya, upon it and is ready to receive images that can be understood by the intellect, maqila, with the power of its original purity and original purity. But some suffer from pain in this world, attacked by various diseases that cause no one can achieve the facts, while some are still in their original state of health without pain and damage and are always ready to receive knowledge, while still alive. Healthy souls are the prophetic souls, al-nufas al-nubuwiyya, who are ready to receive revelation and help or strengthening from Allah, empowered to carry out the revelation in the science of creation and destruction, because those souls are eternal and his original health and his mizraj did not change by the calamity of disease. Therefore, Anbiya is to be the psychiatrists and to be the callers of beings to purify themselves naturally. There are also 6 souls in this humble world consisting of several levels. 1. Few souls are affected by the disease that befalls and few clouds of forgetfulness cover the paths of their minds. They strive in their studies and seek natural health. With this they get rid of their disease with easy treatment. Their cloud of forgetfulness is revealed with only a little study. 2. Souls who study throughout life and strive in the study. They seek natural health, then the disease disappears with easy treatment and their cloud of forgetfulness is revealed with just a little reminder. 3. Souls who study throughout the ages, strive to gain knowledge and correct throughout their lives, while they do not understand at all because their mizraj is damaged, because this mizraj when damaged will not be cured again. 4. The soul that remembers and forgets, tries to train itself, by doing good deeds to restore that memory, but is helpless. They only get a little nur and a dim beam. These differences arise from the direction of those souls towards the world and sink into this world according to its strengths and weaknesses, like a healthy person when he is sick and people are sick when he is healthy. When this problem has been solved, the souls will arise with ilmul laduni and will know that they are indeed alim, knowing, at the beginning of their nature and pure at the beginning of his creation. While they became ignorant, it was because of the pain they suffered when together with this thick body and when living in a dirty house and a dark place. That the souls learn to obtain knowledge that does not exist, is not to create a fading sense, but to learn it is the efforts of these souls to restore the original and instinctive knowledge, based on instinct not produced by reason or teaching, and eliminate diseases that arise from the direction of the souls to the defilement of the body and everything connected with the importance of the body. A loving and caring father to his child, when he directs his attention to the matter of caring for the child only, he will forget all other matters and time is full of questions about the child only. So is the soul, for it overstates the importance of this skeleton, body, and sinks in the ocean of habits due to its weakness and isolation. It takes a lifetime of lessons to recall what has been forgotten and to regain what has been lost. This study is nothing but the return of the soul to its treasures and the digging of what is in the conscience to the action to perfect its essence and achieve its happiness. When a soul is weak and unable to return to its Jariya reality, he should study with a loving and pious person and ask for help from him so that he helps in achieving his ambitions, like a sick person who does not know how to cure his illness while he is trying to cure it. He continued to see a loving doctor, explained himself and asked to be treated. We have seen a pious person suffer from a certain disease such as headache and chest pain, causing knowledge to run away from his soul. He forgot all his information and his memory of everything he had found before became confused and closed. When he is healthy again, he forgets that and the soul returns to remember the information, then he recalls what he had forgotten during his illness. From here we can know that the sciences are not perishable. In fact they are forgotten. The difference between Mawan means sweep and Nasiyan means forget. The sweep means the destruction of the carvings and writings, while forgetting is the confusion between the carvings and the writings. Like a cloudy cloud or a cloud that obscures the sun from the view of the people is not like a sunset, which means the movement of the sun from above the earth to the bottom of the earth. The full attention of the soul in study means to remove the disease from the soul of the soul so that it returns to what was known in the beginning of nature and was known in the beginning of its purity. If you have known the cause and purpose of study and the nature of the soul and its gem, then know that the soul pain is the need for study and sacrifice of age in gaining knowledge. There are also souls who are less sick and have fewer illnesses, less dangerous, thin cloudy clouds, while their mzraj is healthy. Then it does not require further study and further fatigue. Even with a little nazar, look, and thought is enough to restore its originality, to its beginning and reality, to see the secrets of the soul and unearth what is inside from strength to action as well as make what is hidden in it as clothing for him. With this, he is complete and his condition is perfect. He knows many things in a short time and describes information in an orderly manner. It becomes the alim, knowing, perfect and attained, mutaklima, meaning achieved from the side of the hijab, or in other words, hearing the voice from the realm of nature or the divine realm of wahdiya level or al-Khalqali who gave the teachings. It takes light from the direction of the whole souls, al-Nafs al-Kulaiya, and this whole souls in turn bestow its light on the souls of the part, al-Nafs al-Jazi. These two souls are almost identical to the situation viewed in terms of longing for the original. The less sick souls, cut off the veins of envy and the root of revenge and left the priorities and ornaments of the world. When the souls have reached this level, indeed they have known, safe and successful. This is what everyone wants.